It's a chilly autumn night in the hills of West Virginia. The road ahead twists and turns through a thick forest, and you can't shake the feeling that something is watching you from the shadows. The trees seem to lean in, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands, their leaves rustling in the wind, though tonight it doesn't feel like it's just the wind. You grip the steering wheel tighter, your headlights cutting through the darkness. Then, just as you round a bend, your heart skips a beat. In the middle of the road stands something. At first, you think it's a man. But as your headlights illuminate the figure, you realize that it's far from human. The creature towers over the road, its massive wings unfurling slowly, casting a dark silhouette against the moonlit sky. And then you see them, the glowing red eyes, staring straight at you, burning like embers in the night. For a split second, you freeze, paralyzed by fear. But then instinct kicks in. You slam on the brakes and swerve, tires screeching on the asphalt. The creature does not move, just watches, as if waiting, daring you to come closer. As you speed past, you glance in the rearview mirror, but it's gone. Or so you think. You drive faster now, trying to shake the horror that grips your chest. But as you near the outskirts of Point Pleasant, you see it again, flying above you, its wings spread wide, keeping pace with your car. The glowing red eyes never leave you. You slam the pedal to the floor, racing towards the safety of the town, but one question remains lodged in your mind. What did you just encounter on that lonely road? This is a story of the Mothman, an enigmatic creature that has haunted the hills and skies of West Virginia for over half a century. But where did it come from? What does it want? And why does it always appear before disaster strikes? What's up, everybody? My name is Stone Rock. Welcome back to the channel. Or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Today, we're going over the Mothman. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. I just hadn't really gotten around to it. There was other things that happened first, obviously. But we're here now. I'm not the most familiar with the Mothman. So writing this script was an experience. But we're going to get into it. So if you like what we do here, like the video, subscribe, hit the little bell icon, that way you're notified whenever we drop new content. And leave me a comment. Let me know if you've had any encounters with the Mothman, or if you go to the Mothman Festival every year, or just been there once. I would like to go at some point, but we're going to get into the script now. To truly understand the legend of the Mothman, we have to go back to the beginning. November 1966, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, was a quiet, unassuming town on the banks of the Ohio River, home to hardworking families and nestled within the Appalachian Mountains. It wasn't a place where strange things happened, at least not until the night of November 12th. That evening, 5 men were digging a grave in a cemetery near Clendenin, West Virginia, just as a short drive from Point Pleasant. The night was still, and the only sounds were their shovels scraping against the cold earth. But suddenly, without warning, they saw something strange. A massive winged figure swooped down from the trees above them, soaring overhead before disappearing into the darkness. At first, they were too stunned to speak, unsure of what they had just seen. Was it a bird? A bat? But no bird they knew could be as large as this, and certainly not with those glowing red eyes. Just 3 days later, on November 15th, 2 young couples, Roger and Lyndon Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Millette, would encounter the creature firsthand. They were driving late at night near the TNT area, an old World War II munitions factory located in the outskirts of Point Pleasant. The area had long been abandoned, but it was a favorite spot for night drives. The road was isolated, the perfect place to be alone with your thoughts or your fears. It was also, I guess, almost a lover's lane of that time. I'm not going to explain what a lover's lane is. I think we all know what happens on those. As they approached the old power plant, the couples noticed something standing in the shadows near the road. It was tall, humanoid, with giant wings folded against its back, and then those eyes, burning red, unblinking, staring directly at them. Panicked, they sped away, but the creature took to the air, following them, its wings flapping in the night. So there's this thing in cryptozoology. It's not really in cryptozoology, it's just like biology, right? Creatures born of this world don't have glowing eyes. The only way you're going to get any sort of eye glow out of a real thing is if you shine a light into the eyes. Nothing produces its own kind of eye shine like that. Not even deep sea creatures produce eye shine like that. They have things that are bioorganic that produce light on their bodies, but it's never the eyes that actually produce the light. That's not how eyes work. So just the fact that this thing is described as having glowing eyes, you can kind of tell that it's not a real thing. It would be more metaphysical, unless you shine a light in its eyes, which has been a common thing. There's been debunking attempts that have taken red reflectors and hung them up on trees and had people drive past at night and shine light on it, and the people shine the light on the red reflectors and said that that's what it looks like. So that would be an example of a natural creature with a red eye shine. Owls certainly have red eye shine like that. There are some big owls. I don't know if they would be big enough to cast a shadow like this. I know the sandhill crane has also kind of been attributed to the Mothman. There was clearly something that these people were thinking they were seeing. I'm thinking that it was mostly a case of mass hysteria, because something like this just doesn't exist. But it's a fun story. The couples rushed to the local police station, visibly shaken, recounting their harrowing experience. The police searched the area but found no trace of the creature, and yet more sightings would follow, dozens of them, all within the same region, all describing the same creature, a man-like figure with wings and piercing red eyes. See, all you need is one person to describe what they saw, and then that description gets out and becomes a whole big thing. It's almost like a game of telephone, whereas every description would add something different, or every time somebody would describe it, something would be added to the creature. So it's almost like a game of telephone. For over a year, Point Pleasant was gripped by fear. Sightings of the Mothman increased, and reports coming in almost weekly. Some described the creature as swooping down from the skies, others as standing ominously on the outskirts of town, watching from a distance. But no one could explain what the Mothman was or what it wanted. Then, on December 15th, 1967, tragedy struck. At 5:05 p.m., during the height of rush hour, the Silver Bridge, a suspension bridge that connected Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, suddenly collapsed. 46 people plunged into the icy waters of the Ohio River. The disaster shocked the entire country. An investigation would later reveal that a singular eye bar in the bridge's suspension chain had failed, leading to the catastrophic collapse. But in Point Pleasant, many believed that the Mothman was somehow involved. Yeah, that's a pretty common thing. He's not only been seen around Point Pleasant, he's also been seen in southern Ohio, and I want to say he was seen in Chicago once. People were saying that it was seen near Chernobyl when the nuclear disaster happened. You've also got 3 Mile Island, which was a nuclear disaster. So people claim that this thing has been around and near disasters for a very long time now. And, honestly, we have no proof at all, but it's a fun story. And I think that's why it's still around, because it's a fun story. The Men in Black are also somehow involved. It's a pretty crazy thing. In the weeks leading up to the collapse, sightings of the Mothman had increased significantly. Some witnesses can even claim to have seen the creature perched atop the bridge itself. In the aftermath, many began to view the Mothman as a dark omen, a harbinger of disaster. But what was it? A warning, or something more sinister? The collapse of the Silver Bridge marked the end of the Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, at least for a while. But even after the creature vanished, its legend lived on. In the years that followed, the Mothman would be linked to other strange phenomena, both in West Virginia and beyond. Some people believe that the Mothman isn't unique to Point Pleasant. Sightings of similar creatures have been spotted across the globe. In the 1980s, a creature resembling the Mothman was spotted in Chernobyl, just before the nuclear disaster. Others have linked the creature to the 9/11 attacks, claiming it has been seen near the Twin Towers just before the plane struck. Could the Mothman be a paranormal entity, appearing as a warning before catastrophic events? Some believe that the creature is a kind of guardian, while others argue that it's a malevolent force feeding on human suffering, kind of like the creeper from Jeepers Creepers. Interestingly, during the same period as the Mothman sightings, Point Pleasant became a hotspot for other paranormal activity. Unexplained lights were seen in the sky, strange noises echoed from the forests surrounding the TNT area. Some witnesses have even reported encounters with men dressed in black suits, figures who showed up unannounced asking bizarre questions and warning people not to talk about the Mothman. Were these strange occurrences connected to the Mothman, or was something even more bizarre happening in Point Pleasant during that time? Yeah, the men in black suits, obviously it's the men in black. They were said to have like just creeped the hell out of everybody. Like they were all bald, and some of them could talk without opening their mouths and stuff like that. Interesting stories if you ever get into like reading about all that. As with any cryptid or paranormal phenomenon, there are countless theories attempting to explain the Mothman, and like most legends, the truth lies somewhere in the shadows. One of the most popular explanations is the Mothman sightings were simply a case of mistaken identity. Large birds such as the sandhill crane are native to the region and could easily be misidentified under certain conditions. The sandhill crane stands nearly as tall as a person, has a wingspan of 7 feet, and features red markings around its eyes. It's not hard to imagine that in the right lighting, especially at night, such a bird could be mistaken for a terrifying creature. However, some witnesses insist that the Mothman was far too large and too human-like to be a bird. They point to a creature's glowing red eyes, which don't match the behavior or appearance of any known animal. Could there be something else at play? Another theory is that the Mothman could be an alien. In the mid-1960s, there was a time of heightened UFO activity, and many witnesses in Point Pleasant report seeing strange lights in the sky around the same time as the Mothman sightings. Could the Mothman be a visitor from another world, sent to observe or warning humanity against impending disasters? Then there is the idea that the Mothman could be a supernatural entity, perhaps even a creature from Native American folklore. The Shawnee tribe, which once inhabited the region, spoke of a spirit known as the Thunderbird, a massive winged creature that could summon storms and protect sacred lands. Could the Mothman be a modern incarnation of the ancient spirit? I don't think so. They called it a Thunderbird, not Mothman spirit. Or, as some have suggested, could the Mothman be a creature from another dimension, or a being that slips between worlds, appearing just long enough to be seen before vanishing into the unknown? Yeah, so for me, the Mothman seems more metaphysical. You know, being a creature from another dimension that could come in and out. If that was ever a thing to be proven, that's what I think the Mothman would be. I don't think there's anything in the world, just by how people describe this thing, you know, being humanoid with giant wings. First off, you know how strong those wings would be, and like how big the wingspan would have to be able to carry something human-sized. There's a reason why like birds have such large wings compared to their body size. It's because they need large wings to carry the body, to carry the weight of the body. You know, the sandhill crane having a 7-foot wingspan, you know, makes a whole lot of sense when you think about how big that bird's body actually is. It's nowhere near a human-sized body either. So, you know, this it would have to be huge wings, like, you know, 15 to 20 foot maybe to carry something human-sized. And I'm basing this on my body size. I'm 6'1", 230 pounds. So like I don't even know if 15-foot wingspan could carry my body size, to be honest with you. We'd probably have to push it out to 20 feet maybe. But, you know, I'm no expert in this. I couldn't even tell you what, you know, the flying speed of an unladen swallow would be. So we'll have to refer back to Quest for the Holy Grail for that reference, but some of you will get that. Some of you will get that. That's one of my favorite movies. Over the decades, the Mothman has become more than just a local legend. It has become a cultural phenomenon. Books, movies, television shows have all explored the mystery of the Mothman, each adding new layers to the myth. That's like I was saying about the game of telephone. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's game of telephone. You have the lead person. You would turn around and whisper something to your neighbor. They would turn around and whisper it, and it would go around the circle until it got back to the first person. And then you would compare what the first person said to what the last person says and see how it's changed. That's all I think the Mothman is, really, is just a game of telephone. In 1975, author John Keel published the Mothman Prophecies, a book that delved into the strange events surrounding Point Pleasant and the Silver Bridge collapse. The book became a bestseller, further cementing the Mothman's place in American folklore. In 2002, the book was adapted into a major motion picture starring Richard Gere, bringing the Mothman to an even wider audience. That's where I first heard of it, was that movie. We had it when I was a teenager. I remember my mom had a crush on Richard Gere, which it happens, you know. I am the youngest, well, not the youngest. I'm number 5 of 6. I am probably 10 years younger than my closest older sibling. So my oldest sibling is 14 years older than I am. So, you know, I kind of came at the tail end. Born in 1986. But, so my parents are old. But yeah, you know, mom had a crush on Richard Gere, Sean Connery too, as they do in that time. But that's where I'd first heard of the Mothman, was watching the shit out of that movie. Pardon my French. And I did watch the hell out of that movie. I still do. I still love that movie. Every year, thousands of people travel to Point Pleasant for the annual Mothman Festival, a celebration of the town's most famous resident. The Mothman Museum, located in the heart of Point Pleasant, draws visitors from all over the world, eager to learn more about the creature and the town's haunted history. But the question remains, what exactly is the Mothman? Is it a harbinger of doom, a misunderstood creature, or simply a case of mass hysteria? Whatever the answer is, the Mothman continues to captivate the imagination, leaving a lasting impact on both Point Pleasant and the world at large. So next time you find yourself driving down a lonely, dark road and see something in the distance, something large with glowing red eyes, just remember, you may have crossed paths with the Mothman, or maybe it's waiting for you. But thank you guys for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. And you guys had any experiences with the Mothman? What do you think? Do you think the Mothman is just made up? Do you think he's I don't want to say a fairy tale, but you know, do you think he's a metaphysical creature that's able to manifest in times of disaster, or do you think he is a contributor to the disaster? Let me know down in the comments somewhere. Thank you guys so much for all your support. See you next time.
Where others